Text messaging has created a post-rejection world. If that sounds dystopian, that's because it is. 15 years ago, the worst thing that could happen with a woman was getting rejected. You might walk away a little wounded, but at least you knew where you stood. That world is gone. Today, the worst thing that can happen to you is getting ignored. You never actually get a no, which means that you're left in the purgatory of not knowing. You don't get a response, you don't get closure, you just get silence from a woman that you thought you had a shot with. And whether you realize it or not, it often comes down to how you texted her. Back when I wrote the original magnetic messaging, texting was a bridge. You met a girl at a bar, you swapped phone numbers, you fired off 3 solid texts, and you were locking in a date. Texting mattered, but your love life, it didn't depend on it. That bridge has become a door. If you can't text, that door, it never opens. Women use texting as a screening mechanism, deciding whether you're worth the effort of meeting up before you've ever even sat across from her. These days, guys who can't text aren't just losing, they're not even in the game. So, in this video, I am breaking down the shifts in principles and the mindsets that matter most when it comes to texting. And you're gonna wanna stick around to the end because the final tip is the one that ties everything together. And around the second shift, I'm gonna give you a tactical line that you can steal and use the next time you're in those early stages of texting with a woman to keep things on track. Hey, what's up? I am Rob, and to kick off today's video, I want to begin by telling you about the first text that my dad ever sent me. I remember reading it and wondering if he had drafted it with a quill pen. It read, "Dear Rob, how are you today? I'm doing good. Your mother and I are here learning how to use our new iPhones, and I thought I would write you a text message. Sincerely, Dad." Yes, that is a real text. Yes, he signed it. And yes, I'm almost positive that my mom proofread it before he hit send. Now look, I love my dad, but that text is hilarious because he picked up an iPhone and he was treating it like he just logged into AOL and had discovered email for the first time. And it's funny because it's wrong in such an obvious way. My dad didn't understand the medium. He thought texting was essentially writing a letter, but with your thumbs. But any sane person who's not a complete Luddite knows that it's not. Texting is its own language. It has its own rhythm, its own rules, its own emotional logic. And if you don't understand that, you can be smart, you can be funny, good-looking, successful, and still sound like a clueless dork when your thumbs hit the keyboard. And I got bad news for you. When you text a woman you actually like, you're probably making the same category of mistake as my dad made. Now, I'm sure you're not writing "Dear Vanessa" at the top, but I'll bet you're treating texting like something it isn't. I'll bet you're treating it like a conversation, like a place to exchange information. And that's exactly why Vanessa, or whoever she was, stopped responding. Now, let me be clear about this. Women are not looking for information. They're not excited that you checked in on them. They don't care that you asked about their day. No. They are doing something much simpler and much more brutal. They are asking themselves one question: how does this guy make me feel? And if the answer is nothing, if your text feels generic, predictable, needy, overly nice, overly logical, or like they could have written by her aunt, her boss, or ChatGPT, then you're done. Not because you're a bad guy, not because she's shallow, but because your text created no emotional experience. So in this video, I am going to show you the biggest shifts that you need to make if you want to text women effectively. Because texting is no longer just a bridge to the date. Texting is the door. And if you don't know how to open it, you don't even get in the room. So let's dive in. The "I hope" trap, or your texts have no fingerprint. Here's the easiest test in the world. Open your text history with the woman that you're trying to date. Now search the words "I hope." I hope you're having a good day. I hope your interview goes well. I hope you had fun with your friends this weekend. If those are in your sent folder, you've committed what I call hallmarking. It's one of the 7 deadly sins of texting, and it earns its spot because very few people realize that they're doing it. Hallmarking is when you write a text that sounds like the inside of a greeting card. Polite, pleasant, completely emotionally inert. It's cliche, and it's overly general, and it sounds like something you'd read in a fortune cookie. Now try this. Try to remember the last time someone in your life texted you, "I hope you have a great day." You probably can't. Of course you can't, because it evaporates the second that it lands. Now, think about a text that actually moved you, a text that made you laugh in a meeting, a text that made you stop and reread it, a text that made you screenshot it to send to your buddies. Now those types of texts, they did something to you. The "I hope" text, it did nothing to you. And now she's feeling exactly the same thing about your messages. The reason hallmarking is so deadly is that her mom could have written your text. Her boss could have written your text. Her aunt could have written your text. Geico could have written your text. There is no fingerprint on it. There's no version of her that opens that text and thinks, "Oh, that's him." So here's the rule that should be tattooed on your sending thumb. Before you hit send, ask, if she lost every contact in her phone, would she be able to tell this text came from me? And if the answer is no, you have not yet written a text. You've written filler. Delete it and start over. This is what I mean by personality fingerprint. It's inside jokes, nicknames, the way you phrase things, a running bit you've been doing since the night you met her, some idiosyncratic tick that is just yours. The more your fingerprint shows up, the more that you separate yourself from every other guy in her phone, which, depending on her, might be a long list. The move that does this naturally is going specific instead of going general. Specifics carry emotion. Generalities don't. Hope you're having a good weekend. That's generic. That's garbage. You better not let your friends talking to karaoke again. We both know how that ended. Now that is specific. That's a fingerprint. The first one could have come from anyone in her phone. The second one could have only come from you. That difference is text game in a nutshell. The perception play, or how to spark a vibe from scratch. Now, I want to give you a tactical move. This is the line that I promised at the start, and you can use it anytime you're texting a woman who's gone cold, or a woman that you just matched with on a dating app, or anytime a conversation is feeling kind of flat. You see, most guys make 1 or 2 mistakes here, right? Mistake number 1 is that they pepper her with questions about her. How was your day? What are you up to? What are your plans this weekend? This doesn't seem interesting. You sound like a hostage negotiator. Mistake number 2, they info dump about themselves. "Oh, I just got back from the gym. I'm thinking about what to watch tonight. My buddy from college is coming into town." That reads like nobody asked because nobody did. Both are dead ends. The fix is a move that almost no one uses, and it is the most reliable text in my arsenal. You talk about your perception of her. Here's what that sounds like. Say I match with a girl on an app, and we've only exchanged maybe a message or 2. Instead of writing, "Where are you from?" I'll write something like, "I'm getting a bit of an East Coast vibe from you." Or, "I can already tell you are definitely not from Scottsdale." And I'll let you in on a secret here. I'm not actually trying to guess where she's from. In fact, it's better if I guess wrong, because guessing wrong creates more conversational tension than guessing right. Wrong creates a curve. 2 things happen when you make a read like this. The first is you're going to get her curious. We are all at a deep biological level fascinated by how other people perceive us. The second she reads, "I can already tell that you're not from Scottsdale," she's gonna wanna know what gave her away. Even if she had 1 foot halfway out of the conversation, that line pulls her back in. The second thing's actually a little bit sneakier. It lets you build up your own identity without info dumping on her. Now she's the one asking what you meant. She's the one investing. And when she does, you have a natural opening to share something specific about how you see her, which means that you're showing her your taste, your humor, your eye for people. You're telling her who you are without ever reciting a resume. That's the move. Your subjective perception, not facts, not flattery, just your read on her. Steal it, try it tomorrow, watch what happens. Be the slot machine, not the vending machine. Now we're getting into the psychology of why some men live rent-free in a woman's head while others get left on red. Now I'm going to teach this through gambling. A vending machine, think about that, right? Let's start with that. It's predictable. You put $1 in, you get a soda out, right? It's reliable, dependable, it's boring. Nobody gets addicted to the vending machine. Nobody has lost their house to keep feeding quarters into a Coke machine. Now, a slot machine, that's unpredictable. You pull the lever and you don't know what's coming. You might lose, you might hit. The not knowing is the entire experience. That's why people lose their houses to slot machines. And like we said, they don't lose their houses to vending machines. Now think about how that applies to your texting. If she always knows what you're going to say, when you're going to say it, and how you're going to say it, you're a vending machine. She can text you in the morning and the message that comes back will be exactly the message that she expected, which means that she has no real reason to open it. She already knows what it's going to say and she already knows what it's going to feel like, which is probably a whole lot of nothing. The men women can't stop thinking about are slot machines. Not because they're cruel, not because they're inconsistent in some anxiety-speaking, manipulative way, but because she does not know what's coming next. Sometimes he replies fast, sometimes he replies slow. Sometimes he says something that makes her cackle on the train. Sometimes he says something that makes her pause and reread it 3 times. Sometimes he says nothing at all and she has to come find him. Predictability is death. It's not the only thing that kills attraction, but it's a prerequisite for everything else that does. Now, here's where this connects to something that I see clients screw up constantly: standards. Now, think about it like this, right? A girl flakes on a guy. He gets in his head, and then he sends her one of the worst categories of text in existence. I just want to be honest. Flaky behavior is a turnoff. When we make plans, I expect you to follow through. I have read that text in client transcripts more times than I can count. And it never works. It has never worked, not once. What he thinks he's doing is setting a standard. But what he's actually doing is reading out loud from a list of his own grievances. It has the emotional impact of a corporate HR memo. Worse, it makes him sound like the vending machine. She did A, he did B. B was a lecture. End of transaction. She knows exactly what he is now. Here's the contrast. I had a client last year, sharp guy, mid-40s. He was dating a woman in her late 20s. She flaked on him twice in a row. Texted him at the last minute. Something came up. Classic text. His instinct was to write the same HR memo that I just read you, but we rewrote the play. He sent her 2 letters. Okay. And then he went silent. She texted him on day 3 after that. By day 5, she booked the date herself, picked the place, and confirmed twice. Now that's the difference. He didn't tell her his standards. He behaved like a man who already had standards. He didn't announce it, he didn't demonstrate it, and the silence wasn't a punishment. It was just a man who wasn't sitting around waiting. Standards aren't announced. Standards are how you behave when she falls short of them. The men that women describe as high value don't lecture them about their value. They live like guys who already know they have it. Default rule: never tell her something that you can show her. And by the way, if you want to figure out exactly where you're stuck on stuff like this, I built a free quiz called the Attraction Blind Spot Quiz. It's at robjudge.net/quiz. It takes about 3 minutes and it tells you which of these mistakes is costing you the most in your dating life. Links in the description. And now back to it. Don't spoil the movie. I want to close with a rule that ties all of this together. Most men, when they actually feel something for a woman, want to relieve the tension by telling her how they feel. They want clarity. They want certainty. They want her to know exactly where she stands. They think this is being a good guy. This is the boomer email all over again. The same instinct that my dad had when he wrote, "Dear Rob, sincerely Dad," smart men have when they sit a woman down to explain their feelings. They're confusing courtesy with attraction. Attraction does not live in clarity. Attraction lives in the gray area. Think about every woman who truly got under your skin. The ones you couldn't stop thinking about, who made you reread their texts, looking for the hidden meaning. None of those women were the ones who told you exactly how they felt about you on day 3. They were the ones you couldn't quite read. They left a little space and your imagination filled it in. The not knowing was the experience, and she is no different. The reason she's still thinking about the guy who didn't text her back for 2 days isn't because he's better than you. It's because he didn't hand her the last page of the book. I call this the spoiler effect. Every time you confess feelings she didn't ask for, every time you over-explain yourself, every time you tell her exactly where she stands before she's earned the right to know, you are spoiling the movie. You are robbing her of the experience she actually wanted, which is the experience of slowly figuring you out. You don't owe her that. She doesn't even want you to give her that. Which brings me to the one move. If I had to compress everything I just said into a single move that you can use today, it would be this. Stop trying to communicate. Start trying to create an experience. Communication is what my dad does. Communication is, "Dear Rob, sincerely Dad." Communication is what HR sends. Communication is what your professor does. It's information transferred from one person to another, cleanly with no ambiguity. That is not what good texting is. Good texting is closer to what a screenwriter does. You set up a scene, you drop a beat that she didn't expect, you leave a little space, you give her something to lean into. You build a vibe by stacking small emotions across days, not trying to land a haymaker in one paragraph. The men that women cannot stop thinking about are not the men with the best lines. They're not having a conversation. They're writing a movie, and they know better than to give away the ending in scene 1. So the next time your thumb is hovering over the keyboard, ask yourself the only question that actually matters. Is this a text that she's going to remember tomorrow? If yes, send it. If no, you already know what to do. All right, so here's what I want you to do. Drop me a comment below and tell me which one of these you're going to use first. I read every comment and I genuinely love hearing from you guys. And if you want to figure out exactly what's costing you with women right now, the Attraction Blind Spot quiz at robjudge.net/quiz will diagnose it in about 3 minutes. Links in the description. And if you got something out of this video, do me a big favor here and hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And go ahead and follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X for more exclusive content. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next week.